What is up, everyone? Hello and welcome back. We're in for another wonderful day with the Community Time Gaming Podcast. Welcome to the community-driven podcast devoted to discussing the latest and greatest from the world of gaming. Not only are we going to talk about games, but you, the viewer, are going to have the opportunity to get involved. Post comments live in chat on Mixer during the stream or call into Discord in real time and let your voice be heard. Gaming is about doing things together, and this podcast is no different. If you can't make it to the stream live on Mixer, make sure you check us out via YouTube at youtube.com/TyFighterTV or any podcast service you deem worthy. Let's jump in. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Daft, Striker, Charlotte, Fish, Crash. It's great to see you all. Welcome. We got a lot to talk about today. First of all, I just wanted to touch on the fact that I had the opportunity to finish up Darksiders 3 this week, and man, it was really cool. Big shout out one more time to THQ Nordic for hopping in and giving me that sweet code, so I got a chance to review it. I'm going to work on that this weekend. It's going to be out next week. It's going to be great. I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts. This music's actually a little loud. I wanted to share a couple of thoughts before I kind of delve into that review. Basically, I only wanted to touch on the fact that it felt a lot like Dark Souls for just a moment, but it does feel a lot like Dark Souls. But overall, the combat was very good. It was very fun. The fact that you're able to switch and swap out of the different elements, right? She has fire, lightning, force, and stasis was a blast. And the fact that you gather these abilities and then use them to traverse the world and then combat different types of enemies as you continue your quest was very fun. My main gripe with the game, and I think this ended up being a big gripe for a lot of people, was that, especially towards the end of the campaign, for those who were watching, I'm sure you saw that there were some pretty serious frame rate issues. We got into some spots where it dropped all the way down to as low as like 10 or 15 frames a second, which is significantly lower than you want to see. And then many more times than one, there were spots in the map that you literally could not cross a threshold without it freezing for a moment. Like it every time you crossed in, it tried to load the next area, but it would freeze. And so you'd stay there for 4 or 5 seconds, and then you could move forward. And it didn't matter if you had been there just a moment ago. If you crossed back over said threshold and then moved forward again, it would freeze again. And so every time you moved north, for example, across this particular line, it froze. And so that was a kind of a bummer that they didn't have it optimized on release. And it could absolutely be something that they get fixed through the course of patches over the next couple months. I don't see this really as like a live game, as a game as a service. I know there's going to be 2 packets of DLC, but I don't see this as something that will like require weekly updates or anything like that. Like a Fortnite, for example, is a live game. This won't be that. But anyway, I'm going to write a much more comprehensive thing, and we'll make a video of it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and that'll be out next week, so I'm very excited. But first, let's get into some news. I'm sure that some of you heard about this, and I'm almost to the point where I kind of want to not talk about Fallout anymore. But Fallout 76 had another wonderful story this week. It was, for those who missed it, Fallout had a couple of collector's editions that they were selling as a part of Fallout 76, and one of them was called the Fallout Power Armor Edition, and it came with a couple of different pieces of gear. It came with the Fallout helmet, the Power Armor helmet. I think it was the 51B, I think it was called, or 50-B helmet, and then it also came with the satchel or a sack or a backpack, or I think it was a duffel. And on the picture that they showed everyone, this is all the stuff you're going to get with your collector's edition. It called it a canvas bag. And we know what canvas feels like. It's thick, it's sturdy, it's can take a beating and some wear and tear. Then, when players received their collector's edition, they got a very thin nylon bag. They did not get a canvas bag, they got a nylon bag. This is not great. It's not cool ordering one thing. I wanted this canvas bag as a part of this $200 collector's edition, and I got this cheapo nylon bag. And someone actually posted, they emailed Bethesda and they posted their responses. And they're like, yeah, this is false advertising. This isn't what I paid for. What are you guys going to do about it? And they pretty explicitly said, we're going to do nothing about it. So I'm gonna jump into this IGN article real quick, just because it gives it a little bit more context than I can do. So this is by Shabana Arif over at IGN. Fallout 76's $200 Power Armor Edition shipped with a bag of cheaper quality than promised. The Fallout 76 Power Armor Edition included a number of goodies for players to enjoy, from a wearable T-51B, that was what I was trying to go for, Helmet to a canvas West Tech duffel bag. But as we discovered in our unboxing video, the duffel that was shipped was a cheap nylon replacement, and players who dropped $200 on it aren't happy. They're even less ecstatic with Bethesda's response, which has been to offer $5 in in-game currency to make up for it. $5. $5. There's a whole thread full of disgruntled customers on Reddit via Kotaku. Twitter used Lantern Cupcake, which is a user, is amongst many of the ticked off players and contacting Bethesda to get answers. The company replied by saying, due to unavailability of materials, the canvas bag was switched out to a nylon one. Given the ire in the community, it seems that customers didn't get notified of this prior to shipping. An official statement followed on Reddit, essentially saying the same thing. Since then, the publisher has spoken on the issue again, tweeting that it understands that there was a, quote, disappointment with the bag, and that it would be offering players 500 atoms as some measure of compensation. That's $5 of the in-game premium currency, as one Reddit user pointed out, is enough to buy some flowers and a door. It is not, however, enough to buy the in-game canvas bag, which costs 700 atoms. So it's as if Bethesda did literally everything they could to keep canvas bags out of the hands of their players, which feels like such a bummer. Now, this is obviously the danger when you're going to buy a collector's edition, when you're going to pre-order something. You don't truly know exactly what it is you're getting until you get it. But man, talk about being so tone deaf with your players. I mean, obviously everyone's so upset and so mad, and you want to give them, after spending $200, you want to give them what amounts to $5 of in-game currency. I can't imagine a better way to tick off your players and have them not come back to your game. I was listening to Kinda Funny this morning, and they brought up the idea of, like, why not just give players a bunch of in-game currency? Give them $50, give them $100 worth of in-game currency, because in truth, as a developer, it costs you nothing to give players that kind of currency. It costs you $0. But now if you've given players this big chunk of money and they go in and they spend it on cosmetics that are meaningful, $100 worth of in-game currency can get you some cool stuff, right? Lots of skins, lots of extra stuff. Maybe that extra stuff keeps them enticed long enough to stay in the game and see it through to where hopefully it's improved. Maybe they stay long enough to say, hey, the stuff that I bought with this $100 worth of free currency is enough to justify me buying maybe another $50 worth of currency, maybe another $10 worth of currency. Like, I feel like that would have been such a better idea, to give them an actual carrot on the end of the stick, as opposed to a little tiny little smidgen of a carrot and then start whacking them with it, right? That's how I feel this went for the people who got the $200 edition. It's really, really unfortunate. Now, the argument could be made that people who bought this $200 edition, they generally weren't buying it for the bag. You could say, like, they definitely were buying it for the helmet, and they got the helmet at full quality. Like, it's not like the helmet was made of thin plastic or anything. Like, it was what was advertised, and so that's good, and that's really the reason people went in for it, where the bag was semi-secondary. So that argument could be made, and I'm sure there's not 100% of the people that got this are totally upset, but a lot of people are making a lot of noise. And in a time where Bethesda is really at the top of every newsreel for bad news, I feel like they really could have sat in a meeting room for more than 5 minutes and thought of a much better response to this. What frustrates me is just that, like, this is a company who's been doing this for a long time and is pretty in touch with their community. And they couldn't bring 10 people into a room and say, you know what would be a good idea? I think we should give them $5 of atoms in game, because that's what people want. That's what'll make people feel better. I can't imagine that. That's such a bad idea. Anyway, so that's the latest with Fallout 76. No real word on when, if I started that sentence incorrectly. On December 4th, they do have a patch coming in that's going to make some changes to how the game plays. We talked about that one last week, or maybe it was last episode, about some changes they're making to the gameplay, some fixes that they're making to some bugs, and then the following week they're going to be changing the way the building works a little bit. So they are making changes, but man, I feel like they could have done so much better considering all the hate that this game is getting. Like, there's so much that needs to be done. Now, if you guys remember a game like Siege, it came out in a pretty bad state. And pretty immediately, Ubisoft came out and said, like, hey, like, yeah, we need to improve this game. This game is not where it should be. The same thing happened with For Honor. And I feel like those were all handled pretty well, but think about how much time it takes to really fix a game. It took more than a year for Siege to get to where I feel like it is now. It took more than a year for Honor to get to where it is. It took about a year and a half for The Division to come back. Crash brings up No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky took like 2.5 years to get to where it is relative to when it launched. Like, one other thing that came up on Kinda Funny today is what happens at the Bethesda conference at E3 next year. Like, so they got up on stage early this year and said, like, hey, we have this amazing game for you, and it's going to be so great, and you guys are going to love it so much, and it's so much better than anything we've ever made before. And look what we got. So how can they, with any clarity of conscience, come up on stage and tell us that this was a success, and we should trust them for the next quote-unquote success as well? I'm very curious to see how this pans out. Are they going to release any sort of major fix by then? You know, are they going to get their next their next update, like No Man's Sky had their next update, and it really changed the game. It really brought back full circle everything that had happened over the last couple years. Is Fallout 76 going to have that big update anywhere close to in time? I don't know. So for now, we just have to sit back and wait. For now, I've got my Fallout 76 on the shelf. I'm playing other things, and I want this game to come back. I want it to be a success. I love it when games work hard to be good, because that's a win for everybody. But we'll see. Crash says, similar to Destiny 1 at E3 as well as Watch Dogs. So I don't remember Watch Dogs, but Destiny 1 absolutely had to come back and say, hey, there were some very serious issues with this. And that's when The Taken King came out, and then Taken King freaking killed it. And then Rise of Iron was also excellent. So it's completely possible. I hope that they do it. They're not there yet. Obviously, it just came out, and so I want them to be that success story. So we'll see. Oh, okay, so Crash says, we had some amazing looking footage of Watch Dogs at E3. Got something different at launch graphically, among other things. The Division from Ubisoft was another really good example of that. I don't know if you remember watching the initial trailer for The Division 1, and it was stunning. It was really cool. They had all these gadgets. They had all these graphics, and it didn't look nearly as good. And like half the gadgets that were in the trailer were gone, and the entire like aesthetic changed. Now, I'm not saying that The Division is bad. I've put a lot of hours in The Division, especially since they've updated it so meaningfully since launch. But man, the difference between E3 trailers and release was huge. We actually talked about that on the Hardcore Casuals podcast a number of months ago. Make sure you check that out. We are on thehardcorecasuals.com. All the podcasts are posted there. I do that podcast weekly with It's Me, Manny C, and Buddha Will. That is a more long form, like what we've been playing, how we feel about it, and then also some news stories and other relevant topics as well if you guys want to go check that out. Blue Baron asks if I know War Thunder. I do not know War Thunder. Sorry, man. So moving on, we did get a little piece of news, a little tease for next week. So for those who don't know, the Game Awards are next week, kind of an Oscars-style award show that is voted on by a lot of major industry professionals, so developers and journalists and enthusiasts and show hosts and podcasters, and every one of these people that kind of specialize in bringing you games gets to vote on these awards, and things like best game, best action game, best RPG, yada yada yada. All the awards that you would see in an Oscar-style show we see here. Not only do they treat it as an awards show, they also treat it as kind of a small announcement platform, because we have so many thousands of people watching these awards. A lot of announcements are made at this show. We're looking at more announcements probably this year than last year than ever before. And it was announced that there will be an announcement from Obsidian. So for those who missed it, Obsidian is the developer who made Fallout New Vegas, and they're also responsible for the Pillars of Eternity series of RPGs, and they have announced that they will be releasing information on their upcoming game franchise. It's a new franchise, so it's not going to be Pillars 3. It's not going to be the next Fallout. But having recently been acquired by Microsoft, it's very exciting to hear what they're going to have to say, because it's well, in all likelihood, it's going to be a Microsoft exclusive, which is really cool. So in a tweet from Jeff Keighley, who is basically in charge of the Game Awards, he is the Game Awards, he says, "Don't miss the global premiere and announcement of the upcoming RPG by Obsidian and Private Division at the Game Awards, streaming live everywhere next Thursday, December 6th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Hashtag worlds will change." So I'm just telling you guys here right now, on Thursday of next week, on December 6th, that's going to be my stream. At least for a portion of it, for a period of time during that. I'm gonna stop playing games on stream. I'm gonna pull up the stream of the Game Awards, and we're gonna sit and we're gonna watch that together. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited to do that with you. We do have permission from the program to stream it, so we don't have to worry about any sort of rights issues at all. So we're gonna hang out. I'm just gonna sit here on screen and we're gonna watch it together. We're gonna see some trailers. We're gonna see some announcements. We're gonna see some awards. It's gonna be a good time. So. Hopefully I will see you guys there. Remember, that'll be on Thursday, December 6th, and it's going to be a fun time. So I'm excited to see what Obsidian has to show us. We'll see what happens. Next here, BioWare has officially teased a new Dragon Age as a part of Casey Hudson's November blog post. So a couple months ago, Casey Hudson, who's the kind of the director of the BioWare studio, started releasing monthly updates, not only to Anthem, but kind of like what the studio is up to. Take it easy, Blue Baron. Have a good day. I don't know why this isn't loading, so I can't read it, but thankfully I copy-pasted the main thing here. So as a part of this, he kind of tells you what's going on with the latest from the studio, the latest from the Anthem team, but also kind of other stuff that's going on. And one of the major quotes that we got out of it, besides the fact that Anthem is now in a position where it can be taken home by developers, we got a quote that says, "If you've been following these blogs, or myself and Mark Dara on Twitter, you know we've also been working on some secret Dragon Age stuff," said Hudson. "Dragon Age is an incredibly important franchise in our studio, and we're excited to continue its legacy. Look for more on this in the upcoming month, though we won't tell you where to look." So very exciting. We could be getting new Dragon Age news. One thing I would probably warn you about is this doesn't say, get excited, what's going to be the next mainline Dragon Age title. According to what has happened many times over the last year especially, this could easily be something that we don't expect it to be, like come in a form that we don't expect it to be in. So it could be a mobile game, it could be a card game, it could be a number of different formulas for the Dragon Age world. It could be a comic series, it could be something that is not a mainline title. So I just want everyone to temper their expectations and make sure you kind of take the information as it comes. And we'll see what happens. I've just seen so many people disappointed with their favorite, story, their favorite world coming in a different version than they may have expected. So hopefully it's a mainline title. I would love that. I mean, the last one we had was Dragon Age Inquisition. That was what, 2013-ish, I believe. Dragon Age Inquisition, DA Inquisition. When was that? Dragon Age Inquisition was November 18th, 2014. It was a year off. But, I would love to see one. Obviously, that game was big. It was beautiful. It was sprawling. It had cool combat. It definitely had its faults, but that was a pretty cool game. And I would love to see another big RPG, especially with one that's, character-driven. It's got some loot to find. It's always nice having interesting quests and such. I would love to see more. Daff says, "I'm also so damn excited for Dragon Age and Mass Effect news. Mass Effect made me, quote, love games." So I remember, we're going to talk about this for just a moment. I remember playing through the Mass Effect series right after I had graduated college. So this was in the summer of 2012. And I had finally moved out of the apartment that I had been living in for 3 years with my roommates in college. I was in a new apartment where I finally had my own room. I'd been sharing a room for 4 years. So I finally had my own room. I had my own Xbox and I had my own TV, and I was able to play it, by myself. And I had plenty of time by myself because my girlfriend and I's, she's my wife now, but she was my girlfriend then. So my wife's work schedule was basically opposite of mine for a while, and so I had a lot of time to myself. And so in compensation for that, she actually got me the Mass Effect trilogy for Xbox 360. And so I hadn't played it before. I was definitely behind the times on Mass Effect. At that point in my life, I didn't really keep up with a lot of gaming news because I was just really into Call of Duty. We played Call of Duty Black Ops for months and months and months in my apartment. Like Modern Warfare 2 as well as Black Ops were life-changing for us college students. So those were good times. But yeah, playing through the Mass Effect series, I played through 1. It was good. It was obviously a little clunky, but the story was very, very interesting. It was very cool being in such a fun and interesting sci-fi universe that really changed the game, when really all I had experienced of like good space stories was Star Wars and Star Trek. So this was very cool to be able to experience something different. And then I got into Mass Effect 2. And I think you all know just the enormous leap in quality between Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2. And you see all these different characters and all these different faces from different corners of the universe, from Mordin Solus to the Krogans to all the different characters. Like, man, some of the names are even slipping me now. But you just see all these different faces of these different pieces of the universe, and they tell such an important story. And you come to grow a relationship with these characters as Shepard, but then also as yourself. So that by the time you get to Mass Effect 3, and you now have gone through all the trials and tribulations of Mass Effect 2, because basically in ME2 you go on this crazy suicide mission, expecting to not come back, and you end up making it. But man, you had to go through hell to get there. So I playing through 3. Mass Effect 3, I remember very specifically the special scene with Mordin Solus, when you had to go fix the what was it? It was like a virus on the Krogan home planet that made all the Krogans much less fertile, and Mordin Solus sacrificed himself in order to fix this virus that they had released. And I swear to you, that was probably the first time I had ever cried at a piece of media. I hadn't cried at movies, really. I never cried at a video game. The moment when Mordin Solus sacrificed himself on that, oh my gosh, like that hit me like a ton of bricks. Jesus Christ. Yes, he sang to himself a little bit as he was typing on the computer, and then right when the explosion happens, it puts on that classic soft Mass Effect music that used to be on the title screen of the first one, and it was just like, oh, that scene, if you can go look it up on YouTube, it's somewhere. Holy cow. It was something else, man. Daff says the suicide mission sequence remains my favorite gaming moment ever. Any one of your crew could die if you screw up, 100%, dude. And there was no going back. If you didn't make the right decisions, if you messed up a call, like they were gone, and they weren't going to be there with you at the end of the game, and there was no way to bring them back if you wanted to keep that character, unless you wanted to start a whole new play over and hit the reset button on the universe. But man, it was serious stuff, and it was so real, because you had spent so many hours with this crew, with them by your side, being able to bring any one of them with you at any time, and then you bring them all with you on this mission, and all of their lives are at stake. All of their lives are at the will of your decisions, and it was just so brutally honest and interesting, and man, very, very cool. I think that's why some people feel like Mass Effect Andromeda didn't quite connect, because they were expecting to feel that same level of connection and that same level of empathy with the characters in that, when they really couldn't. When Shepard was gone and the characters that we fell in love with weren't there, and they wanted to have the same relationship. It takes more than one game to establish that, and Mass Effect showed us. Obviously, the animations and the technical pitfalls didn't help, but we'll see. I still haven't played Mass Effect Andromeda. It's sitting on my shelf. I got it for $12 like 6 months ago, and I never ended up jumping in. It's one of the ones that I definitely want to try, especially now that they gave it a 4K overhaul. So it is now Xbox One X enhanced, 4K HDR, all that good stuff. Definitely worth checking out. The Mass Effect Andromeda there, NKWO, is the one they gave the Xbox One X enhancement to. Daft says, it was Mass Effect 1 to me again. I still really enjoyed the game personally. Okay, Daft. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth checking out. Definitely worth checking. I think it's one of those ones that if I ever... there's going to be a time in my life where I'm not streaming as much anymore, and I'll just have a night where I don't have anything to play, and that's when I'm going to pop in Mass Effect and I'll play through it then. That's probably... That's my guess. So we'll see. Yeah, NK says, nope, that will be never. There will never be a time where you're not streaming and you have nothing to play. It's true. It's true. There's always something coming out. And I think this year is no exception to that. I don't know why I clicked out of this. There we go. There we go. Good. So, finally today, I didn't have a ton of super news. Oh, you'll speak on Mass Effect? Hop into the Discord, man. We'd love to have you, Bolt Striker. We got the lobby open right now. I changed the names of the channels to the lobby and the gym to make it a little bit more clear which one you enter into and then which one the magic happens in. So, anyway, while you're hopping in, we'll move on to the next topic because it's not entirely different. I just wanted to touch on the. Oh, here he is. Never mind. Holding on. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Bolt Striker 94. How you doing, boss? What's going on?
What up, huh?
Hey, man.
How are you?
Doing good, man. So tell me what you think.
Honestly, I mentioned before, I am a big old Mass Effect fan from like the original 360 days.
Yeah.
Like that was my cup of tea, man. Like if gaming was like a drink, that would be like Coke Zero to like root beer, almost.
Wow. So it's just miles away.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. So did you play Andromeda?
I did.
Okay, and tell me your thoughts on Andromeda.
Honestly, I didn't like the story of Andromeda because mostly there wasn't as much spoke on Commander Shepard, who's literally the epitome of badass.
Sure.
In a way.
Yeah.
And I just loved the whole story of the Reapers and an entire solar system coming together.
Okay.
You know?
Well, I mean, it's important to remember, like I mentioned before, like we had 3 games of Mass Effect to kind of develop the story of the Reapers and develop who Shepard was and what his relationship with the other aliens was. And so I felt like it was definitely kind of a far cry for people to come into Mass Effect Andromeda and to expect the exact same level of connection.
Yeah, but I do love that they added new species.
Okay.
And that there was more survival, before, like it was before. I think it was after Liara or the destruction of what was it?
Alderaan.
What was it? Darn it, I
Almost gotcha.
It was, yeah. Yeah, it was the Asari homeworld.
Okay, yeah.
I
think I know what you're talking about.
But I'll admit I did like Tachanka, and I actually listened to the Mass Effect 3 soundtrack because that's personally my favorite soundtrack.
Dude, I listen to the Mass Effect 3 soundtrack at work all the time. The couple opening tracks on that with like the big Hans Zimmer just blah, like they're super cool. Definitely recommend for anyone who's listening to this right now. If you haven't already, make sure you check out the Mass Effect 3 soundtrack. It's got some really, really great tracks on it. Some really good for work and some even really good for like working out. Definitely worth checking.
I listened to a lot of the Future of the Krogan because for me that's like me in a nutshell, you know, because my entire life has been a wreck, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Since my mom passed and
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Passed away on Christmas of all days.
Yikes. I'm so sorry to hear that, dude.
Mass Effect 3, that was like my all-time favorite game on the 360.
So how did you feel about the controversial ending of that game?
Honestly, like the good ending or like the endings in general?
Well, I think it was not one particular ending that made people mad. It was kind of how all 3 endings in general were kind of not very different from each other.
I would say when it was during one of the I think it was one of the good endings where you had to destroy the Reapers.
Uh-huh.
That sort of left a bad taste because we all thought Shepard was dead.
Uh-huh.
And when they rolled the rubble of the Citadel and showed It showed like the what? It showed like his dog tags, and that had that breath.
So the one time that I went through it, I played through the ending. I think I did. You have the choice of either, go left and, it's go right and destroy the Reapers, or go left and become one with the Reapers. And I think there was a third one that said do nothing or something like that. And I decided it would be interesting to go left and blend with the Reapers, become one with them, and I think they wanted a leader, if I remember correctly. So it was like take control of them, I think it was. Maybe the Reapers didn't want me to, but the Citadel gave me the ability to control the Reapers. Anyway, so I decided to go with that ending. And the only part of the ending that I really remember was destroy, merge, or control. There you go. I think I went for control. And the only real part of the ending I remember is that, Shepard goes in. You don't really see him very much. The Reapers leave because, Shepard told them to leave. And then your crew lands on a faraway planet, and they're stranded there, and it's all green and pretty, and that's
right.
So, I mean, yeah. I may have not really understood well enough to not like it. I played through it, and I'm like, okay, cool. It's over. It's fine. And I never really went back to play through again, so.
Yeah, I tried going for all three endings because, I'm a completionist and all that. I even tried most of the romance scenes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and the one that I sort of loved was was between the romance of Male and Liara.
Who were the two? Sorry, you cut out for just a moment. Who'd you say?
Of the male Commander Shepard.
Okay.
And Liara.
Interesting. That felt like one of the more, I don't know, easier ones, I guess. Because you could have gone you could have gone really weird with it. You could have done some, him with Tally, I think you could do. Yeah, Tally all the way, says Dav. And you could have been FemShep and done with some of the other female characters. Like you could go any direction.
Thank you, Crash. Thank you, Ashley, for me.
Crash says Ashley every day. I mean, she felt like the one that the game wanted you to get with. She was kind of the obvious choice there. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, I've tried on my third playthrough, so it's Ashley.
I mean, if you wanted to romance these people, all you had to do was just keep talking to them, right?
Yes. Or if you have a continuation from like Mass Effect 1 and 2, then you can pick up from that.
There you go. Easy peasy, man. Crash says she was a constant, though, the 3 games, if you played it right. Oh, yeah. So when you have Ashley once, you can have Ashley every time. Hey-o.
Yeah.
Nice job.
And, I think there was also Miranda. I think Crash also
yeah, Miranda was definitely in, too.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not much of a stickler for Miranda.
No?
I
mean, seemed like a good-hearted person. She was just on the wrong side at the beginning of 2, but by the end, she was on your team.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. She's attractive as heck, I mean, god darn, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just...
You guys and your video game girlfriends. Come on. Quit perpetuating stereotypes.
Sorry.
That's all right. All right, man. Well, we're gonna move on to the next story. But is there anything else you wanted to drop on us about Mass Effect before we move on?
All I'm hoping is that Mass Effect 4 happens.
It did happen. Mass Effect Andromeda.
Well, I mean, like the next thing for Mass Effect. Because
so Andromeda 2
to die,
Well, I mean, Shepard had to end. That story had to come to a conclusion. We can't have him indefinitely.
That's true. I mean, have a continuation for what was the main character? Ryder in Andromeda?
I didn't play Andromeda.
I think, thank you, Crash. Yeah. Crash did confirm that for me.
Okay.
And Like have Ryder meet like some of Commander Shepard's old crew, you know?
Okay.
I mean, heck, find the original Normandy, you know?
Who knows, man? I mean, it's absolutely possible, and I'm 100% sure that BioWare has a memory, and we've seen them with Dragon Age especially know that you can reach back into older games and make references to those games. And so
yes.
it's almost a certainty that we will see pieces of that old series when we get into further into Mass Effect.
Yes.
So we'll get there.
I'm hoping. I have my fingers crossed, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean it's been long enough. We're probably at a point where we may even consider thinking about Mass Effect Andromeda 2 for E3 2019.
That is true.
It's possible. You know, they are very busy with Anthem. It's possible. Hello.
Yes.
It could be two very different teams. I know in this exact moment right now, everyone's kind of all hands on deck to make sure that Anthem is QC'd to death, which is good.
Yes.
And according to, just like Jason says, according to this new announcement, it's likely that Dragon Age may be coming sooner than any sort of Mass Effect. But I'd like to think that if we're going to get a Dragon Age announcement next month, hopefully by E3 we can get a Mass Effect announcement. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping for one. I'm just saying.
So we'll see. All right, man. Well, thank you so much. Are you still making content for everybody?
I tried to. I'm still working out a schedule and everything.
No worries. You want to let everyone know where they can find you?
Mixer.com/BaltStriker94.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you very soon, okay?
Hey, thank you.
Later. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Daft Venom says, I just don't want the B team working on Mass Effect again. And it's tough, right? Because they want to have the quote A team on for all of them. You want to have the A team on for Anthem, absolutely. You definitely want to have the A team on for Dragon Age, and you definitely want to have the A team on for Mass Effect. These are all series that people care a lot about. Well, at least they think they care about Anthem at this point. We'll see how it comes out on release, but like people really want all of these to be amazing. But anyway, Crash says, I pity the fool that puts out a bad game again. Yeah, dude, just go talk to Bethesda, see how they're doing. Thankfully, Casey Hudson is back. Powdered Toastman says, a serious fanboy, I want either KOTOR 3 or a new Baldur's Gate. Those would be, that'd be a big deal. I would say that it's absolutely possible now with KOTOR, especially because they're working closely with EA, who owns all those licenses. So we'll see about that. I don't know about Baldur's Gate. I actually never played the first. I wouldn't put a remake or a remaster out of the realm of possibility. And that would be more towards the people, kind of our age, that would be more appreciative of that. I'm sure that would go right over the heads of the young audience. Whereas the idea of Anthem and being able to Iron Man yourself around this world is a little bit more appealing to someone that's a little bit younger. So we'll see. They could meet, that studio has almost infinite potential, and I'm very excited to see what we're going to have next. Toastman says, is the Old Republic MMO still going? There's your Steam for a new KOTOR. That's true. I don't know if it's still on, though. We have two new Baldur's Gates, Pillars of Eternity and Pillars of Eternity 2. Not a bad thought. They're definitely in the same realm. It's definitely in the same style. We talked about them last week. We also talked about them earlier today. Obsidian coming out with their new RPG announcement at the Game Awards next Thursday. For those who missed what I was talking about, just one more plug for next week. On Thursday, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be restreaming the Game Awards on my channel. So if you'd like to come and watch those trailers and talk about some of those announcements and awards with me, we're going to be live streaming that here on this channel next Thursday. So I'll have that on the schedule in my Discord, discord.io/Team TyFighter. And then we will be on mixer.com/TyFighterTV as well. So make sure you come check us out. Finally, we only have one more little piece of nugget for you today. Speaking of Anthem, BioWare has announced the registration for its closed alpha test. If you guys have not yet even tried to sign up, you still can. You have a couple more days. You can go. I would just type in Anthem Closed Alpha, because the registration closes on December 3rd. And then hopefully by December 8th or 9th, you have a code. But they say it is for a limited number of people. And they are choosing, they have people selected, and they're also taking some random people from the community as well. And it is closed. It is a non-disclosure agreement. We are not allowed to stream it. You're not really allowed to talk about it. They just want people in the world to test their servers. I have already submitted that application. If you haven't already, all you got to do is go in and make an EA account and then just sign up. It was very, very easy. The problem is that once they announced it yesterday on their live stream, it hit the newsreels almost immediately, and the site crashed because so many people wanted to be a part of it. Daff Venom says, I did mine earlier. I want to say it's 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. CST, and then 2 to something over the next 3 days. So it is 2 days. It is Saturday and Sunday of next week, and there are 2 slots on each day. There is a 9 a.m. to, I think it's 9 to 1 and 1 to 5 each day, CST, so Central Standard Time. So that would be 7 a.m. Pacific through 4 hours, so 11 a.m., so 7 to 11 and then 11 to 3 Pacific, or 10 to 2 and 2 to 6 Eastern on both Saturday and Sunday of next week. Jason says, I'm not too worried about the alpha. I'd rather try out a more polished build in the future. Yeah, I mean, I get that. Some people, including myself, I'm just so antsy to get in there and try flying around. I'm actually not even worried about the quests. I'm kind of with you on the quests because I don't want to do buggy quests. And I know 100% that none of this is going to transfer over progression-wise. But I just want to fly around. I just want to feel it. I just want to see it. I have a feeling by the gameplay that we've experienced that it's going to run and feel a lot like Warframe. We've seen it. It's third person, over the shoulder. The way they've shown movement, it looks a lot like Warframe moves. So we'll see. Powdered Toastman says, where do we sign up? Is it just EA.com? No, it's something different. EA. It is EA.arcsivr.com. So I'm going to post this link in chat for you guys. You can use this. That's the link to go there. For those who are listening on podcast services around the globe, I am so sorry, but you do not get to see this link right now. I can put it in the description. If you hear this podcast before December 3rd, then you too can go and sign up. I will remind you, though, it is a closed alpha, and they are not taking nearly everyone who is signing up. So it is a very big maybe as to whether you'll be able to get it. So that's it. I will keep you. We are allowed, just like if I get in, and I have not been given confirmation that I got in, I just signed up. But if you get in, you are allowed to say, according to their agreement, you're allowed to say that the alpha exists and that you are a part of it. That's it. You're not allowed to say, I had fun. You're not allowed to say, it was really buggy. You're not allowed to say, it was super cool flying around as Iron Man until I hit this wall. No, you're not allowed to say any of that. You're allowed to say, it exists and I was there. And that's all. You can't stream it. You can't record it, take video of it, take a picture on your iPhone, none of it. They want no anything. So anyway, guys, is there any other stuff that I missed that you guys wanted to kind of hash out? I didn't take every news story from this week. I wanted to keep it a little bit more concise this week, even though we kind of rambled on about Mass Effect there for a little bit. But is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about before I get going, chat? I just want to make sure everyone's good and happy and good to go. If not, we will probably sign off for the day. Don't forget, I'm actually not streaming any games tonight. This is going to be it for me. I'm going to go hang out with Mrs. Y-Fighter before we do a big stream tomorrow on Saturday with myself and Mr. Tej. Big Daddy Tej himself, we're going to be streaming Destiny for a good chunk of the day just to get ready for the release of Black Armory on Tuesday of next week, followed by the raid on Friday of next week. It's going to be great. Crash, did we get you confirmed for tomorrow, or for tomorrow? Because if so, I'm freaking excited. Charlotte, I don't know if he did. He told me to call him after my stream yesterday, and it didn't work out. All right, so I'm gonna sign off the podcast for now. I'm just gonna close the recording down so we can get all those podcast people out the door. You guys are great. Thank you for everyone listening on podcast services around the globe. If you missed this stream, if you missed being a part of this, make sure you tune in to mixer.com/TyFighterTV. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern. We do this show 2 to 3 times a week, depending on how awesome the week is. And there you go. Don't forget, Thursday of next week, that is Thursday, December 6th, we're going to be doing a live stream of the Game Awards here on mixer.com/TeamTyFighter. That starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to probably be on an hour before that playing games. And then we're going to live stream it together. We're going to talk about it. We're going to watch it. We're going to experience it together. And it's going to be a good time. So make sure you come in and check us out. Until then, guys, thank you so much. That is going to be it for the podcast recording today. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.